10 years into their marriage, Alexander cheated on Emily. He brought his mistress's 2 children to her, insisting they needed a father and were pitiable. Their daughter, Lily, begged him to stay, but he remained unyielding. Emily didn't cling. She took Lily and left, fearing for her daughter's well-being, and never remarried. Years later, Lily met a wonderful man named Ethan. Their granddaughter, Isabella, was adorable, and Emily spent her days caring for the child, leading a contented life. On Emily's 60th birthday, Lily and Ethan told her they were swamped at work, and Isabella had a last-minute tutoring session, so they'd celebrate the next day. That very night, though, Emily stumbled upon a local video on social media. In a luxurious hotel room, there they were, Lily, Ethan, Alexander, and those 2 children. 6 people gathered, singing a birthday song to Alexander's mistress, Monica. To Emily's shock, Lily even called Monica Mom. Chapter 1. Lily had said they must celebrate Emily's 60th birthday in style. Emily told her not to go overboard, but Lily insisted, saying she'd witnessed all her mother's hard work over the years, and the celebration had to be grand. Emily's heart swelled with warmth. She was deeply touched. All these years, Emily had raised Lily alone, watched her grow up, get married, and have a child. Ethan treated Emily like his own mother, and Isabella was always sweetly calling her Grandma. Emily was happy. The pain of Alexander's betrayal was gradually healed by her family's love. So, when Lily mentioned the big celebration, Emily truly looked forward to it. As one gets older, they yearn for the lively atmosphere and the warmth of family, which gives life meaning. On that day, Emily woke up early, tidied herself up, sent Isabella off to school, and left breakfast on the table for Lily and Ethan before they went to work. Lily said she and Ethan would handle some work in the morning and come home early to celebrate. Emily stayed at home, cleaning and waiting. But as time dragged on, well past the promised hour, Lily still hadn't returned. Worried, Emily was about to call when her phone rang. "Mom, something urgent came up at work for both Ethan and me. It's sudden, and we can't take leave." "We probably can't celebrate your birthday today," Lily said, her voice heavy with guilt. Disappointment welled up in Emily, but she knew their careers were important. She tried to sound composed. "It's okay, work comes first. Focus on your jobs. I'll pick up Isabella later, right?" Before she could finish, Lily interrupted, "Mom, it's your birthday. Take a break. As for Isabella, my friend is passing by the school this afternoon and will pick her up and bring her to my office. Just relax at home." Thinking of Lily's demanding job and Isabella's young age, Emily couldn't help but protest. "Maybe I should pick her up instead. You're so busy, and Isabella can be a handful at this age. She might disturb your work." Lily seemed anxious, and her voice rose. "Oh, come on. My friend's on her way. Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of Isabella. I have another meeting, so I have to go." And with that, she hung up, leaving Emily listening to the beeping tone. Emily sighed. Lily had been working so hard and had lost weight recently. So, she went to the kitchen, planning to make a nourishing chicken stew for her and Ethan. The old hen would take a long time to cook, and since she'd finished the chores, she sat on the sofa, picked up her phone, and decided to rest. At her age, Emily liked passing the time by watching videos. She opened the video recommendation page, swiped through several, but nothing caught her eye. Just as she was about to close it, she accidentally clicked on the local section. One glance, and she recognized the back of the woman in the thumbnail. It was Lily. Chapter 2. The video had been posted half an hour ago. Emily clicked on it without hesitation. The scene appeared to be a hotel private room. Lily stood by the table with Ethan, holding Isabella. All 3 were smiling. Lily turned her head slightly, and the camera shifted. Then, Emily saw Alexander. If asked who she hated most in life, without a doubt, it was Alexander. They'd been in love when young, and Emily had thought they'd be happy forever. But in the 10th year of their marriage, when Alexander's first love, Monica's husband, died in an accident, leaving her and their 2 young children, Joel and Helen, alone, things changed. At first, Alexander helped them secretly. When Emily found out, they had a huge fight. He yelled at her, calling her heartless. Later, he held Joel and Helen in his arms and handed Emily divorce papers. He said the children were too young to grow up without a father, so he wanted to divorce Emily, get back with Monica, and raise the kids. When he said those words, Lily clung to his leg, crying and begging him not to leave. But Alexander turned away and walked out without a backward glance. Emily didn't fight. She demanded most of his assets, took Lily, changed her last name, and left. She never remarried, focusing solely on raising Lily, watching her grow, go to college, fall in love, get married, and have Isabella. And through it all, Alexander was absent. Emily had heard that Alexander and Monica never had more children, devoting themselves to raising Joel and Helen. Lily had once told her she hated Alexander as much as Emily did. Emily thought Lily, remembering the divorce, would avoid them. But she never imagined they'd still be in secret contact. In the video, Lily and Alexander stood together, talking quietly, showing no sign of hatred. They even led the birthday song, with Ethan and Isabella clapping along, and Joel and Helen joining in. Monica, surrounded by them all, looked as charming as ever in a beautiful dress, like a princess at the center of attention. To make matters worse, Emily and Monica shared the same birthday. After the song, Lily walked up to Monica, hugged her, and called her Mom. Chapter 3. Emily threw her phone to the ground, but the video kept playing on a loop. Her chest ached, and she was filled with disbelief. She desperately tried to find an excuse. The daughter who'd been by her side through everything had seemingly inherited her father's cold, hard-headedness. Emily had seen how Monica had pretended to be innocent, stepping into their lives and destroying their once happy family. So, how could Lily call that woman Mom? She sat on the sofa for a long time until the unpleasant smell from the kitchen reached her. The chicken soup had boiled dry. In her distress, Emily reached for the pot with her bare hand and burned a large patch of her finger. Just as she was about to treat the burn, the doorbell rang. It was the delivery man with the cake she'd ordered for herself, a small one. As one grows older, it's easy to get sentimental, so after the call with Lily, Emily had ordered it online. A one-person celebration was still a celebration. She placed the cake on the coffee table, put a few candles on it, clasped her hands, and closed her eyes to make a wish. She'd long decided on her wish, for Lily to have a happy life, for Ethan to always love Lily, and for Isabella to be healthy and smart. But now, when she closed her eyes, all she saw was Lily lying to her, then celebrating Monica's birthday with the whole family. In the video, Monica was surrounded by loved ones, having a grand time, like a real family. In contrast, Emily sat alone, feeling cold and deserted, like a clown, a joke. The child she'd loved and raised had become a knife stabbing her in the heart. It hurt too much. As one gets older, they become more sentimental, and Emily's tears flowed freely. While wiping them away, she made a new wish, to live happily for the rest of her days. For so many years, all her wishes had been for her children, never for herself. But now she realized it might not have been worth it. She took 2 bites of the cake. It tasted greasy and wasn't good at all. She checked the time, 11 o'clock at night. Normally, she'd have finished the housework, put Isabella to bed, and gone to sleep herself. But tonight, sleep eluded her. Just then, there was noise. The door creaked open, and Lily tiptoed in, but she stopped dead in her tracks when she saw Emily sitting in the living room. She froze for a moment, looking visibly flustered. Ethan and Isabella followed behind her, still chattering animatedly about the birthday celebration, until they caught sight of Emily and fell silent instantly. Isabella tried to act as if nothing had happened. She batted her innocent big eyes, held out her arms to Emily, and said she missed Grandma and wanted a hug. Looking at Isabella running towards her, Emily didn't reach out to embrace her as lovingly as she always had. Ever since Isabella was born, Emily had poured her heart and soul into caring for the child, just as she did for Lily. Ethan had no parents, and both he and Lily worked long hours. With the high cost of living in the big city, Emily had always taken care of Isabella, giving her daughter and son-in-law peace of mind so they could focus on work. But this little one, just like her mother, had betrayed Emily too. As Lily approached, she tried to pretend that everything was normal. She feigned rubbing her shoulders and said work had been exhausting that day, promising Emily a grand celebration tomorrow. Her gaze landed on the small cake on the coffee table, and she froze again. "Mom, did you buy the cake yourself?" Maybe it was because the cake was too small, or perhaps because the cake they'd had for Monica earlier was so elaborate, but Emily could see the guilt in Lily's eyes. Feeling that it was pointless to beat around the bush, Emily asked directly, "Lily, where did you go today?" Lily paused, her eyes searching Emily's face as if desperately trying to gauge her mood, but in the end, she chose to play innocent. "Mom, what are you talking about?" "I went to work today." After she spoke, she glanced at Ethan and Isabella. Ethan nodded quickly. "Yes, Mom. I was so busy today. My back and waist are killing me from all the work." As for Isabella mimicked her father's gesture, nodding her head vigorously. "Grandma, we didn't go eat cake today." "We didn't." Children's lies were never watertight. The more they talked, the easier it was to trip up. Lily didn't even have time to stop Isabella. All she could do was give Emily an awkward smile, her eyes darting around as she started to spin another lie. "Mom, don't misunderstand. Isabella was fussy at my office, causing a ruckus, so I bought her a small piece of cake." Listening to this clumsy excuse, Emily felt a deep sense of disappointment. She took out her phone, found the video, and threw it right in front of Lily. Lily froze, her mouth opening and closing as if she wanted to explain, but eventually, she sighed, sat down beside Emily, and seemed to give up. "Oh, Mom, it's been so many years. I know you hate Dad, but he and I are blood related. For your sake, I've hardly seen him all these years, haven't I? Isn't that enough? You're getting on in years. Why can't you let go of these grudges? Even if you can't, don't drag me into it. All these years, haven't I been there for your birthday? Monica. Aunt Monica has the same birthday as you. Even though she never says it, I know she wishes for the family to be together. So I thought, since we're all family, what does it matter which day we celebrate? I celebrated hers first, and tomorrow I'll celebrate yours. Isn't that okay?" "Mom, you're too old to throw tantrums, aren't you? Ethan and I are already exhausted from work every day. Being with Dad makes things a bit easier for me. But look at you now. Can you think about me for once?" Hearing her daughter's complaints, Emily's already cold heart turned to ice. "Are you blaming me for stopping you from reuniting with your father?" she asked. Emily looked at Lily. Physically, Lily resembled her more than Alexander, but in that moment, she saw a hint of Alexander's coldness in her daughter's eyes. When they divorced, Alexander had lavished all his fatherly love on Monica's two children, especially Helen. The first time Emily saw Helen, who was only 6 years old then, her expressions and demeanor were an exact replica of Monica's, which was why Alexander doted on her the most. Back then, Lily had cried hysterically, curling up in Emily's arms and asking over and over again, "Mom, why doesn't Dad want me? Does he want to be someone else's dad? Doesn't he love me anymore?" At that time, seeing her daughter in such pain felt like a knife twisting in Emily's heart. Her child, whom she had carried for 9 months, had to face such an irresponsible father. It was unbearable. But now, looking back, it all seemed like a cruel joke. Lily listened to Emily's words, seemingly oblivious to the change in her mother's tone, and started to act coquettishly as she usually did. "Mom, that's not what I mean. But think about it. Dad is getting old. No matter what, I still have half of his blood in me. No matter how much resentment there was, after all these years, shouldn't it fade away? And Monica." "Mom, no, Aunt Monica, she's actually a nice person. Back then, she did what she did because she was worried Joel and Helen wouldn't have a father. But later, she even apologized to me. She buys me gifts and treats me like her own daughter. Regardless of all the grudges, you're so old now. Why hold on to such old grievances? Listening to her daughter's words, Emily felt absurd. The father who had abandoned Lily without a second thought, the one Lily had cried for late at night, asking why he didn't want her, and Monica, who had knowingly inserted herself into their family, had given Lily one gift. And that was enough for her to let go of all the past pain. So, Emily shook off Lily's hand. Lily, so in your opinion, my not forgiving Alexander and Monica means I'm being unreasonable? Lily nodded as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Of course. I was so young back then, and I've forgotten all the hatred. Now, when I close my eyes, all I can remember are the good times with Dad when I was little. Those were happy times. So, Mom, I hope you can forget too. Let's be a family again, like we used to be. Aunt Monica is really nice. Maybe you could even be friends. Before she could finish, Emily slapped her across the face. Lily let out a scream and quickly stood up, covering her face. Mom, why did you hit me for no reason? With your terrible temper, no wonder Dad prefers the gentle and quiet Monica, she shouted, then ran into her room crying. Ethan and Isabella hurriedly followed to comfort her. The door wasn't closed properly, so Emily could vaguely hear their conversation. Old and senile, holding on to grudges forever. Bad-tempered old lady. So annoying. There were many more hurtful words spoken by the daughter she had loved for half her life. In that moment, Emily's heart truly died. She stood up, went to her room, packed her bags, and left the family chat group on her phone. Lily and Ethan had worked hard for years, but with the high housing prices in the capital, they were still paying off their mortgage every month. Feeling sorry for them, Emily had been using her pension to help out, covering their mortgage, utilities, groceries, and even Isabella's tutoring fees. But now that she had decided to leave, she would no longer provide any financial support. Whether they could manage without her help was no longer her concern. In fact, Emily had another property that she had never told anyone about, not even Lily. She had bought it as a safeguard, fearing that Ethan might turn out like Alexander. She had kept the property in her name, planning to transfer it to Lily after she passed away. But now it seemed there was no need. That property would be her future home. With her generous pension, she could live quite comfortably on her own. When she left the room, Lily was still crying, and the cake was still sitting on the coffee table. Everything was in disarray. Emily dragged her suitcase and left without a backward glance. Chapter 4. By the time Emily settled into her new place, it was already 3 in the morning. After taking a shower, she lay down in bed. When she checked her phone, there were no missed calls, no unread messages. After all, Lily was the daughter she had raised for more than 20 years. In the end, it still stung a little, but maybe this was for the best. It would make it easier to move on, and she wouldn't be tempted to convince herself to go back. She canceled her daily alarm, turned off the lights, pulled up the covers, and tried to push all those thoughts out of her mind, closing her eyes in an attempt to sleep. That night, she didn't sleep well. Over and over again, she dreamed of the times she had spent with Lily. Back then, when Alexander had insisted on divorcing her, although Emily had taken most of his assets, Lily had been too young and had suffered severe psychological trauma as a result. She had been unable to go to school for a while, and Emily had no choice but to quit her job temporarily and stay by her side day and night. Lily had always slept restlessly, often waking up in the middle of the night from nightmares, crying for her mom and Dad not to leave her. Emily would hold her and sing the lullaby she had used to put Lily to sleep since she was a baby, staying up with her all night. When Lily finally slept peacefully, Emily would wake up with a sore back and an aching arm that would throb for half the day. Back then, when Lily saw Emily in pain, she would hold her hand tightly and start massaging her arm, saying, "Mom, I'll rub it for you so it won't hurt anymore." At that time, she had been so well behaved. Emily took a deep breath, opened her eyes, and glanced at the time on her phone. Although she had turned off her alarm clock after so many years, her biological clock woke her up at the usual time. Normally, she would go to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, then rouse Isabella from bed. Being young, Isabella would always linger under the covers, doodling away. Emily would coax her, scoop her up in her arms, help with her wash-up, and tie her hair into an adorable little braid before guiding her to the breakfast table. After Isabella finished eating, Emily would take her to kindergarten, and by the time she returned home, Lily and Ethan would have already eaten and left for work. Emily would then start washing the dishes and tidying the house. In short, her days were a whirlwind of activity, always centered around this big family, leaving her with barely a moment to herself. But now, everything was different. After waking up, Emily only needed to prepare breakfast for one. Once done, she would head downstairs and take a leisurely stroll around the neighborhood, stretching her limbs. It was a comfortable, relaxed life. However, before she could finish her walk, Lily called. Emily ignored the first call, then the second, and the third. It wasn't until the fifth call that she accidentally answered. Even without putting it on speakerphone, Lily's voice came through shockingly loud. "Mom, where did you go all night? How old are you?" Acting like a teenager, running away from home on a whim. You didn't even think about Isabella. She's going to be late for school, and there's no breakfast. Are you going to let us go to work hungry? Do you know I have an important meeting today and can't be late? Each question was hurled at her as if Emily's sole purpose in life was to serve them. Emily remained silent, but Lily kept ranting on the other end. "I just asked you to take care of the child, cook, and clean. You live comfortably at home while Ethan and I work our tails off for this family, getting up before dawn and coming home late at night. And now you just disappear? Don't you think you're being unreasonable?" Unreasonable? Emily couldn't help but smile bitterly. This was the daughter she'd dedicated her entire life to, yet Lily seemed oblivious to all her sacrifices, assuming everything Emily did was owed. If it had been yesterday, Emily might have felt heartbroken, reluctant to let go of the years they'd spent relying on each other. But now she was truly disillusioned. "Lily, though I lived in your house, your mortgage, and all other expenses were paid with my money. I worked myself to the bone taking care of this family. If you think that's living comfortably, then from now on, you can handle everything on your own. As for me, since you don't want me as your mom, I don't need you as my daughter either." With that, Emily hung up, done with the conversation. Still, the exchange dampened her mood, so she went upstairs, changed her clothes, and decided to go to the mall. For years, Emily had revolved around Lily, Ethan, and Isabella, rarely treating herself to a shopping spree or new clothes. Now, free from those burdens, with her savings and monthly pension, she had more than enough to live well. The idea of buying beautiful clothes, nice bags, and becoming a carefree, stylish senior citizen seemed rather appealing. Chapter 5. But Emily didn't expect that the one time she decided to indulge in some retail therapy, she would run into Alexander at the mall. He was walking beside Monica, and the two of them entered a clothing store. Their paths crossed, and when Alexander saw Emily, his eyes darted away, avoiding her gaze. Monica, on the other hand, wore a smug smile and walked right up to her, with the same infuriating attitude she'd had when they first met. "Emily, are you here shopping for clothes?" Monica made no attempt to hide her exaggerated smile, eyeing Emily up and down. Then she shook her head and said condescendingly, "Look at you. Spending all your time at home taking care of kids and doing housework. Even if you buy a nice outfit, when would you ever wear it? Or maybe you've set your sights on some old man recently and are dressing up to catch his eye." Monica's voice carried, and many other customers in the store couldn't help but look over. People loved a good scandal. Emily had no intention of being polite to this woman, her former mistress. As more eyes turned their way, Emily exclaimed, "How could I compare to you? Back then, right after your husband died, you threw yourself at my husband with 2 kids in tow. With skills like yours, I could never learn, no matter how hard I tried." The customers, having seen their fair share of life's dramas, quickly understood the subtext, even without Emily spelling it out. A customer who'd just entered the store gasped, "Oh, so she's the mistress." Monica's face turned beet red. Alexander immediately stepped forward, ready to scold Emily. "Emily, don't go too far. Emily laughed mockingly and turned to the onlookers, pointing at Alexander. That's the man who was led astray. He said those kids needed a father, so he abandoned his own daughter to play daddy to them. To this day, those children don't even take his surname, and he doesn't seem to care. Isn't he just the epitome of nobility? Those two children still only called Alexander uncle, a fact that had always been a sore spot for him. Now that Emily had laid it all bare, his face turned a dark shade of purple. But he couldn't refute her because every word was the truth, leaving him seething with anger as he glared at her. The crowd's laughter rang out, mocking him, and Monica, too furious to retort, grabbed Alexander's arm, trying to pull him away. Just then, Lily walked into the mall after work and happened to see Monica. "Monica, Mom. What's wrong?" Lily asked anxiously, seeing Monica's distressed expression. Monica, who had been fuming a moment ago, instantly composed herself when she saw Lily. She turned to look at Emily, feigning innocence. "Your mom is still angry at me. It's my fault. I shouldn't have let you come celebrate my birthday." As she spoke, Monica lowered her head, looking incredibly remorseful. Lily raised her eyes to glare at Emily. Still holding onto the anger from that morning, she didn't hesitate to take Monica's hand and march up to her mother. Her words were like daggers. "Mom, is it really necessary to keep throwing these tantrums? Look at Monica, Mom. She's kind and gentle. You fly off the handle at the slightest thing. Any man would know who to choose." It was a cruel blow. Emily raised her hand and slapped Lily across the face. The daughter she'd once held so dear had become a source of deep pain. "You're my child, but you've turned into a knife stabbing me in the heart. How ironic." "Mom, you hit me again." Lily covered her face, looking shocked. Emily looked at her coldly. The pain in her heart had transformed into anger, and now it had settled into a cold, calm acceptance born from utter disappointment. The Lily standing before her felt like a stranger. "If you like them so much, then call them Mom and Dad from now on. I'm not fit to be your mother, and I don't want to be anymore." Lily seemed amused by her mother's reaction. She immediately grabbed Monica's arm, as if deliberately trying to provoke Emily, and said loudly, "Fine. If you don't want to be my mom, that's okay. I don't need a mom like you, so moody and irrational. Monica, Mom, is amazing. I'm having dinner with them today, and we're going to be one big, happy family. Unlike you, who keeps dwelling on the past and complaining all the time." In her dramatic outburst, Lily's ID card fell out of her pocket. Emily instinctively looked down. The photo on the card was recent and the name. Lily had secretly changed her last name to match Alexander's without telling Emily. Lily noticed Emily's gaze and looked slightly guilty. She touched her nose and said, "It's just a last name, right? It's normal to take the father's name. Dad doesn't have any kids with his surname. You might not care as a woman, but we can't let the family line die out. It's just a name. Why are you making such a big deal out of it?" The more she spoke, the angrier she seemed to get, even though Emily hadn't said a word, and she looked increasingly impatient. Emily stared at the name for a long time. Lily had once said she didn't want her father, that they were each other's only family, and that's why she wanted Emily's last name. Now, that last thread of connection between them was severed. She waved her hand dismissively at Lily, her tone flat. "It's fine. You can have whatever last name you want. It has nothing to do with me. I've truly decided I don't want this daughter anymore." Chapter 6. On the way home, Emily blocked all of Lily's contacts, cutting off all communication. She checked her savings and the pension that had just arrived, then, without a second thought, booked a small, exclusive tour online. She packed her bags and set off on a journey. For years, she had dedicated herself entirely to Lily, never getting the chance to explore the beautiful landscapes of the world. Lily had always promised that one day, when she grew up, graduated, got a job, got married, had children, and the children grew up, she'd take Emily traveling. But Emily had waited year after year, and that day had never come. Thankfully, now, on her own, she could finally see the wonders of the world. She visited mountains and then the sea, relishing conversations with others in the tour group. Among them was a woman named Miranda. Like Emily, Miranda had dedicated her entire life to her family. Her greatest wish was for her husband and children to take her out to explore the world. But this simple dream was met with scolding. They said she was being childish, that at her age, she should stay home quietly, look after the kids, and not think about gallivanting around, calling it embarrassing. Hurt by their words, she took her savings, blocked her family members, and embarked on an impromptu journey. Having shared similar outlooks and experiences, Emily and Miranda had an amazing time together throughout the trip. In fact, before parting ways, they exchanged contact information and even planned their next adventure. However, just as life has its joys, it also has its troubles. In their tour group, there was an old man who was a year older than Emily. His wife had passed away from illness years ago, and his children were all grown up with several grandchildren. He seemed to lead a cheerful life, but he confided that without a woman at home, there was always a sense of emptiness. When he learned that Emily had been divorced for years, his eyes lit up and he proposed that they settle down and live together. Emily wasn't interested and tried to ignore him, but he persisted, following her all the way to her doorstep. She had just dragged her suitcase into the house, not even having unpacked yet, when she saw him standing at her door, holding a large bouquet of red roses. "Emily, look. We're around the same age. You're divorced, and I'm a widower. Why don't we live together? I really like you, and I'll give you all my savings. I don't ask for much. My sons and daughters will take care of the grandkids. You just need to take care of me, do some laundry, cook, and go for walks with me now and then. If my kids are busy, you can help look after the grandkids." It's easy. Listening to his words, Emily took a deep breath. If she were 20 years younger, she would have grabbed a mop and swung at his head. But now, being older, she was worried she'd throw out her back before she could even lift it. So, she simply called security to escort him away. "Emily, why are you being so heartless? Don't you like me? Even though I'm in my 60s, I'm still a handsome old man. You'd have some status with me by your side. You've been alone for so long. Aren't you lonely?" he protested as the security guard led him away. Fed up, Emily swung the trash bag she was holding at him. The commotion was so loud that Lily, who had just entered the community, noticed her immediately. "Mom, what are you doing here?" she asked, quickly walking towards her. Emily had just returned from a 3-month vacation, looking relaxed and having gained a few pounds. In contrast, Lily looked haggard and had clearly lost weight. Emily remained silent. Lily came up to her, glanced at the old man still struggling nearby, and seemed to understand what was going on. She pointed at Emily accusingly. "Mom, how old are you? And you're still thinking about finding a partner? Have you no shame?" Her eyes were filled with condemnation and anger. Then, she started hitting the old man with her bag, shouting at him to leave. "Mom, are you crazy? At your age, if an old man shows interest in you, it's probably just for your money, and here you are, foolishly falling for it." After driving the old man away, Lily turned back to Emily and pointed at the community behind her. "What now? You've been ignoring all my calls, and now you're renting a place here, living it up? You seem to have realized something and said resentfully, you're living carefree, doing nothing, while I'm at home, struggling to work and raise a child. I'm exhausted, and all you do is make things harder for me. You won't take care of the child, won't do the housework, and you go off having fun, fooling around with some old man. You're really a great mom." Her words were dripping with sarcasm. Emily looked at her coldly. "I told you last time, if you like Monica more, then go be her daughter. As for me, I don't want to be your mother anymore. And I have no obligation to deal with your problems at home. Got it?" Listening to her, Lily finally seemed to realize that Emily was serious. But she still couldn't help but retort, "What do you mean you're not my mom anymore? We're blood related. I'm your daughter. Just come home. There's so much chaos at home. You used to pay the mortgage and utility bills, and now you just disappeared. Do you know how lost Ethan and I felt? We don't earn much, and we still have to raise a child. We've been struggling these past few months, and it's all your fault." Enraged by her accusations, Emily slapped her across the face again. Get lost. Truly disappointed, she didn't want to hear another word. She turned and walked away. Lily covered the cheek where she was slapped and stomped her foot in anger. Mom, are you serious? I was just telling the truth, and you hit me for it. No wonder Dad didn't want you back then. That comment made Emily stop in her tracks. She turned around. Lily looked at her, raising her eyebrows as if expecting her to back down. Emily threw the other trash bag she was holding at Lily's head. Lily, back then, when Alexander wanted to divorce me, it was because he was blind, because he was a scumbag. Our relationship was just a piece of paper, and once it was torn, it was over. But you're different. You're his flesh and blood, and he still chose to abandon you for children who weren't even related to him. Deep down, you know who the real fool is. Maybe I never thought it would come to this, with my own flesh and blood hurting each other, but if that's how it has to be, so be it. You may be my daughter, but you're like rotten flesh to me now. Cutting you out is the only way to heal. No one would cling to rotten flesh because it's not worth it. You're not worth it. Emily turned away again. Lily's face turned red with anger. She was about to say something more when suddenly her phone rang. She answered it and then shouted in shock, "What? The house is on fire." She immediately turned and ran back. The woman who came with her also ran out, shouting, "Miss, are we still looking at the house today?" Chapter 7. Ethan's parents had passed away when he was young. So, after he and Lily got married and had a child, Emily moved in with them. She took care of the child and managed their daily lives. As a result, she had lived in that community for many years and knew a lot of people. Among them, there was a woman named Lily, not her daughter, who loved gossiping more than anyone else in the community. Whenever something happened in the neighborhood, she was always the first to know and would share the news with her old friends. This time, when Lily's, her daughter's, house caught fire, within half an hour, the gossipy Lily called Emily via video. They had always gotten along well, and even after Emily moved out, she would often check in, telling Emily to let her know if she needed any help. So, Emily didn't ignore the video call. As soon as she picked up, she saw Lily's excited face. The video was aimed at Lily's, her daughter's, apartment window. Emily, your ungrateful daughter, finally got what was coming to her. She chuckled, and then began to tell Emily everything that had happened over the past few months. Back when Emily went on her tour, Lily couldn't find her and was still angry after being slapped several times. So, she kept in touch with Monica. Monica's 2 children, Joel and Helen, still hadn't gotten married. Joel was a troublemaker who had never liked studying and now didn't like working either, just lounging around at home all day. Helen also didn't want to work and was always dreaming of marrying a rich man. When Monica saw that Lily had bought a large house, even though it was still under mortgage and the family's financial situation was already quite strained, she decided to send her 2 children to live with Lily. She claimed that as a family, they should spend more time together. Monica's children didn't contribute anything. They would show up at Lily's house every other day, arriving empty-handed and leaving with all sorts of things. Joel even invited a group of friends over to throw wild parties. The place would be in shambles, filled with smoke and chaos. Ethan was furious and had a huge fight with Lily about it, but Joel didn't care and continued his behavior. This time, Joel quietly brought some people over again. They drank heavily, and one of them, while lying on the couch and smoking, accidentally kicked over a half-empty bottle of liquor. The cigarette ash ignited the couch, and with the spilled alcohol on the floor, the fire spread rapidly. Ethan came home just in time to see thick smoke pouring out of the window. Joel barely managed to run downstairs, and when he saw Ethan, who had just gotten home from work, the first thing he did was curse at him. He blamed the poor quality of the house for almost getting him killed and demanded compensation. Ethan was enraged and started fighting with him. Even with a bunch of people trying to pull them apart, they couldn't stop. When Lily returned, Joel and Ethan stopped fighting and both turned their anger on her, cursing her furiously. In short, after all the chaos, the house was uninhabitable for the foreseeable future. Lily originally planned to stay at Alexander's place for a while, but he flatly refused, saying there was no room and telling them to go stay in a hotel without a hint of consideration. A group of onlookers sat under the apartment building, munching on sunflower seeds and watching the drama unfold. The gossipy Lily aimed her camera at them, giving Emily a live broadcast. At the end, Lily said, "Bad people always get their comeuppance. Don't soften up. A daughter like that isn't worth feeling sorry for." Emily nodded. Indeed, she felt nothing for her daughter anymore. Her disappointment had reached its peak, and watching the video of their squabbling just seemed ridiculous. Family ties had become an ironic farce. Chapter 8. In the end, Lily managed to move her family into Alexander's place, thinking it would vindicate her decision. But she had no idea that this choice would lead to her downfall. As for Emily, after that video call with the gossipy Lily, she stopped paying much attention to Lily's affairs. She recently discovered a new hobby, handmade ceramics. Going to the workshop and shaping all kinds of cute little crafts was incredibly relaxing. She went several days in a row. Coincidentally, right next to the ceramic workshop was a hotel. Just as Emily was leaving the studio with her fired pieces, she saw Lily at the hotel entrance. Standing in front of Lily, half-dressed, were Ethan and Helen. "Ethan, we've been married for 7 years, and I gave you a lovely daughter. How could you be with Helen behind my back?" Lily shouted at the top of her lungs. Sophia, holding her hand, looked terrified. Helen, whose clothes were still disheveled, had dated several boyfriends over the years and seemed completely unfazed by the stares. She even leaned against Ethan provocatively. "Lily, you're just an old, haggard woman now. No one helps you with the kid, and you had to quit your job to stay home. You don't even take care of yourself. Why wouldn't Ethan get tired of looking at you?" Then she threw a flirtatious glance at Ethan. "Ethan, do you want this old woman or me?" Helen's youth and charm were undeniable. Ethan and Lily had been arguing constantly, and their relationship was already on the brink. Caught red-handed, Ethan showed no remorse. "Lily, what are you making a fuss about? You should be at home with the kid instead of running around. Which man doesn't cheat? Look at your dad. Didn't he leave your mom for another woman? And you forgave him and even called her mom. If you could accept that, why can't you accept this?" Lily's eyes widened in disbelief, shaking her head vigorously. Ethan, how could you say that?" She seemed on the verge of collapse as she reached out to hit him, but Ethan pushed her away, shielding Helen. He looked down at Lily with a mocking smile, as if she were a clown. "Lily, let's stop pretending. Do you really think your dad cares about you? If I hadn't worked so hard to make money and buy that house, do you think he'd even want you back? He's just using you to save money for Joel and Helen, and you fell right into his trap, craving his love. But at least you did one good thing, introducing me to Helen. She's so much more fun and understanding than you. Let's get a divorce. I don't want the kid. You take her. We'll split the money 50-50, and you'd better leave. Since you accepted what happened to your mom, I guess you won't have the dignity to hold on, right?" Each word was like a dagger to Lily's heart, driving her into hysterics as she sobbed uncontrollably. Helen remained calm, casually brushing her hair back and bending down to Sophia. "Hey, little one, don't you think your mom is overreacting? It's not a big deal." Hearing this, Lily shouted, "Get away from my daughter. Don't you dare touch her." She forcefully pulled Sophia towards her. Sophia's delicate arm couldn't withstand the tug, and she started crying, pushing Lily away. "You're a bad mom. I don't want you. Sophia, I'm your mother. I gave birth to you and raised you. How could you say that?" Lily was heartbroken. She raised her hand to discipline the child, but Sophia immediately bit her wrist. Lily flinched in pain, and Sophia ran straight into Helen's arms, glaring at Lily. "You're a bad mom. You always yell at me. I like Auntie. I want her to be my mom." Lily's eyes widened. She seemed about to say something, but then her gaze met Emily's in the crowd. In that moment, her eyes were a whirlwind of emotions, shame, regret, and perhaps a hint of realization that the words she once hurled at her mother were now coming back to haunt her. Chapter 9. After witnessing the whole sordid affair, the gossipy Lily couldn't wait to share the details. She sent Emily dozens of 60 second voice messages, all about the drama she'd seen. Since the house fire, Lily, Ethan, and Sophia had moved into Alexander's place. With the marriage already strained, constant arguments followed. Without Emily around, someone had to take care of Sophia's school runs, so Lily quit her job. Helen had her eyes on Ethan's income and, through persistent flirting, managed to win him over. Alexander and Monica knew about the affair and even helped cover for them. Sophia had seen them together a few times, but a simple lollipop was enough to keep her quiet. In short, as the situation spiraled out of control, Lily, now aware of everything, was cast out by the entire family. Even her beloved Sophia refused to go with her, running into Helen's arms and calling her Mom. One day, as Emily was taking her usual walk back to the community, she saw Lily huddled in the corner at the entrance. Looking like a forlorn kitten, Lily reached out and tugged at the hem of Emily's skirt. "Mom, I was wrong. Please forgive me." If this had happened before, Emily would have been heartbroken and would have done anything to defend her daughter, even if it meant confronting Alexander. But after everything that had transpired, she knew this was the consequence of Lily's own actions. Watching Lily's tears, Emily felt nothing. It was as if a stranger was trying to manipulate her with empty gestures. "You've got the wrong person. I'm not your mother. I did have a daughter once, but in my heart, she died a long time ago. Go away and don't come back. If you do, I'll call security. Got it?" With that, Emily ignored Lily's pleading cries and walked away. Chapter 10. Lily came looking for Emily several more times, but Emily refused to see her. Her decision was final. Lily must have realized how resolute Emily was, because she eventually stopped coming. Emily continued to enjoy her life, taking walks, making ceramics, and shopping for new dresses. Half a month later, Emily heard news of Lily again. Lily had been mentally fragile since childhood. Emily had once spent days and nights by her side, helping her overcome her demons and become cheerful. But now, abandoned by everyone, even her own daughter, Lily hatched a tragic plan. Under the guise of a final reunion meal, she gathered the whole family: Alexander, Monica, Joel, Helen, Ethan, and Sophia. After cooking the meal herself, she mixed a lethal concoction of rat poison, paraquat, and other toxic substances she'd bought and put them in the dishes. Then, as the family started to feel the effects of the poisoning, she sealed the doors and windows and turned on the gas. By the time they were discovered, everyone was unconscious, foaming at the mouth. With the deadly mixture of toxins, it was too late to save them. Not even 6-year-old Sophia survived. The news spread like wildfire across the nation. The public dug into their past and learned the truth about each of them: Alexander's infidelity, Monica's role as a mistress, Joel's thuggish behavior, Helen's habit of stealing boyfriends, Ethan's betrayal, and Sophia's cold-heartedness. Lily, blinded by her own choices, had finally faced the ultimate consequence. The whole country was outraged by their story. And Emily? She briefly trended online. Seizing the opportunity, she started a live stream, showing off her ceramic making skills, turning a new page in her life. Online, her live streams attracted a large number of viewers. Many people empathized with the hardships Emily had endured and generously sent her money as gifts. Without hesitation, she donated every penny earned from the live streams to those in need. From that moment on, Emily was truly free. She had no more emotional attachments, no lingering burdens. She finally embraced a life of carefree happiness, crafting ceramics, exploring new places, and savoring each day on her own terms.